Keep it moving, clear the lane.
Watch the cones on the left side.
Road maintenance doesn't stop when the sun goes down. In fact, for certain types of repairs, night shifts are preferred, not as a backup plan but as the primary window. This isn't about convenience, it's about geometry. During daylight hours, a single lane closure on a highway can back up traffic for miles. At night, the same closure
Keep going
might
another
affect
2
a
feet.
dozen
Stop right there. We need the grinder next.
vehicles per hour. Math changes everything, but speed isn't just about fewer cars. Night crews operate under a different set of conditions: less visibility, more fatigue, and no room for drawn-out conversations. What looks like chaos from the outside is actually a system built on compression. Every action has to count. The question isn't whether night repairs happen faster. It's why the entire logic of the work shifts after dark. A highway at 2 in the morning is not the same space as a highway at 2 in the afternoon. The emptiness is obvious. What's less obvious is how that emptiness reshapes everything about the work. During the day, a repair crew has to account for constant flow. Drivers slow down to look. Merge points create bottlenecks. Even with lane closures and signs, there's negotiation involved. Traffic adjusts slowly, and the crew adjusts with it. At night, traffic thins to the point where adjustment isn't necessary. The road becomes a workspace, not a shared corridor. Lighting becomes the dominant factor. Work zones are lit by portable towers, creating islands of brightness against total darkness. Everything outside that cone is invisible. This sounds limiting, but it's actually clarifying. The crew's focus narrows. There's no scanning the horizon, no tracking distant vehicles. The workspace is defined by light, and everything else disappears. Routine replaces communication. Daytime crews talk constantly, coordinating around traffic, adjusting plans, checking in. Night crews operate more quietly. Not because they're tired, though fatigue is always present, but because the work compresses into familiar patterns. When you've closed the same section of road 100 times, the setup becomes automatic. Cones go out in the same sequence. Equipment gets positioned without discussion. Everyone knows where to stand. This isn't efficiency through speed. It's efficiency through elimination. There are fewer variables at night, so fewer decisions need to be made. The crew doesn't move faster in the sense of rushing. They move faster because there's less to navigate around. Temperature also plays a role, though not always in the expected direction. Asphalt work, for example, depends on material temperature. Hot mix needs to be laid within a specific range. At night, cooling happens faster, which means timing becomes tighter. But pavement that's been baking in the sun all day also needs time to cool before certain repairs can start. Night crews inherit that cool-down period. They're not waiting for permission. They're waiting for physics. Silence is another factor. It's not absolute. Equipment is loud, radios crackle, trucks reverse with warning beeps. But the ambient noise of daytime traffic is gone. Instructions don't get lost. Mistakes don't get compounded by miscommunication. When someone calls out a measurement or a position, it's heard the first time. The rhythm of night work is steadier. There's no stopping and restarting because of traffic surges. No waiting for a gap to move equipment. Once the closure is in place, the crew works straight through. Breaks happen on a schedule, not because the road forces a pause. This continuity means tasks don't get fragmented. A repair that might take 4 hours during the day, with interruptions and resets, might take 2.5 at night with no stops. Night work compresses decision-making. During the day, if something isn't clear, there's time to check. You can call a supervisor, review a plan, or wait for another crew to finish. At night, those buffers shrink. Not because people are less available. Supervisors are on call, and crews coordinate across zones. But because the window is smaller. Most night closures are designed to wrap up before morning traffic builds. That means every delay has weight. A 15-minute pause at midnight is manageable. A A 15-minute pause at 4 in the morning might mean leaving equipment in place during rush hour, so decisions get made faster, not recklessly but with less room for hesitation. Crews prioritize what's necessary and ignore what isn't. If a repair can be done in 2 steps instead of 3, it gets done in 2. If a material substitution is acceptable, it happens without lengthy approval. The goal isn't perfection. It's functional completion within the available time. This creates a different kind of pressure. During the day, the pressure is external: traffic, visibility, public scrutiny. At night, the pressure is internal. The crew knows the clock. They know what happens if they don't finish. That knowledge shapes every choice. Experience becomes critical. A newer crew member might pause to double-check a measurement. A veteran knows whether it's close enough. They've seen the tolerance margins. They know which details matter and which ones don't. This isn't about cutting corners. It's about recognizing that some corners were never structural to begin with. Tool selection also shifts. At night, you bring what you know will work, not what might work. There's no time to troubleshoot unfamiliar equipment. If a crew has a preferred patcher or cutter, that's what gets used. Redundancy is built in: backup tools, extra materials, alternative methods. The plan always has a fallback, because stopping to source something mid-shift isn't an option. Communication becomes more direct. Instructions are shorter. Confirmations are immediate. There's no room for ambiguity. If someone says move the truck, it means now, not in a minute. If someone says hold, everything stops. The language of night work is compressed because the time frame is compressed. Risk tolerance doesn't increase. That's a common misunderstanding. But risk assessment becomes more binary. Either a task is safe to proceed or it isn't. There's no middle ground where you monitor conditions and adjust. At night, you commit or you don't. This is partly because conditions don't change much. Traffic won't suddenly surge. Weather is usually stable. The variables that would require ongoing adjustment during the day are mostly fixed at night. So once a crew decides to proceed, they proceed fully. Certain things aren't written in manuals but are understood by anyone who's worked a night shift. First, you don't revise the plan on site. If something needs to change, it gets flagged for the next shift. Night work is for execution, not redesign. This isn't rigidity, it's practicality. Changing the scope mid-shift means recalculating time, repositioning equipment, and adjusting closures. All of that eats into the window. Better to complete what was planned and schedule the revision properly. Second, you don't leave partial work. If a section is open for repair, it gets closed properly before the crew moves on, even if that means simplifying the fix. A temporary patch that holds is better than an incomplete permanent repair. The road has to be functional by morning. Aesthetics and optimization come later. Third, you trust the person in front of you. Night crews are smaller. There's no backup team standing by. If someone says they've checked something, you move forward. There's no time to verify everything twice. This only works because night crews tend to be experienced. Newer workers are usually paired with veterans, and they learn by observation, not by testing boundaries. Fourth, you don't wait for confirmation on small decisions. If a cone needs to be moved, you move it. If a tool needs to be handed over, you hand it over. The crew operates as a unit, and that unit functions through anticipation, not instruction. Everyone watches everyone else. You see what's needed before it's asked for. Fifth, you stay in the light. This sounds obvious, but it's easy to drift toward the edge of the work zone, especially when traffic is minimal. The rule is, if you can't be seen clearly by the rest of the crew, you're too far out. Visibility is safety, and safety is non-negotiable. Sixth, you don't push through if something feels wrong. Fatigue affects judgment. Equipment malfunctions. Sometimes a repair isn't progressing as expected. The rule is simple. If something's off, you stop and reassess. Better to lose 10 minutes figuring it out than to create a problem that takes hours to fix. These rules aren't enforced through supervision. They're reinforced through consequence. Crews that follow them finish on time and go home. Crews that don't end up troubleshooting in daylight traffic or coming back the next night to redo work. When night repairs follow their own logic, outcomes improve. Not dramatically, this isn't transformation, but measurably. Completion rates are higher. Closures scheduled for 6 hours tend to finish in 5. That extra hour isn't wasted, it's buffer. It accounts for the unexpected without requiring overtime. Crews leave on time. Roads reopen on schedule. Commuters the next morning don't encounter delays. Material usage becomes more predictable. When there's less variability in conditions, estimates are more accurate. Crews bring what they need, use what they bring, and leave with less waste. This isn't about cost savings, it's about efficiency. Less hauling, less disposal, less inventory management. Safety incidents decrease. Fewer vehicles in the work zone means fewer near misses. Reduced complexity means fewer opportunities for error. The compressed decision-making timeline forces clarity, which reduces miscommunication. Workers aren't safer because they're more careful. They're safer because the environment has fewer hazards. Quality holds up. Night repairs don't fail more often than daytime repairs. The materials are the same. The techniques are the same. The difference is in execution. Fewer interruptions mean more consistent application. A patch laid without stopping to adjust for traffic is a patch laid correctly the first time. When routines are ignored, the consequences are immediate. A crew that tries to expand the scope mid-shift runs out of time. A crew that skips setup steps has to redo positioning. A crew that doesn't communicate clearly makes mistakes that require rework. The feedback loop is tight. Errors show up within the same shift, not days later. This creates a kind of self-correction. Bad habits don't persist because they're punished quickly. Good habits are reinforced because they lead to clean finishes. Night crews develop efficiency not through training programs, but through repetition and consequence. Night repairs move faster because the conditions allow it. Fewer obstacles, narrower focus, tighter timelines. The work isn't rushed, it's concentrated. The patterns make sense only to the people inside them. From a passing car, a night crew looks like any other work zone. From inside the light, it's a system built on compression and clarity. The road doesn't care what time it is, but the people who fix it understand that time changes everything.